He wasn't cheating. I almost wish he was, because cheating would have hurt less than what I found in his drawer that night. Besties, if you love emotional stories, you're not just viewers, you're family here. And this one, I was 7 months pregnant when I found it. 7 months. Swollen feet. Back pain. Sleeping on my left side because the doctor said it was better for the baby. I wasn't snooping. I was looking for our hospital folder. That's it. He keeps all the important documents in his office drawer. Warranties, insurance, medical files. I needed the insurance card for my next prenatal appointment. The drawer was locked. This never locked. That should have been my first warning. I told myself I was overthinking. Pregnancy hormones. Anxiety. After the miscarriage last year, I panic over everything. I found the spare key in his desk organizer. When the drawer opened, the first thing I saw wasn't medical paperwork. It was a thick manila envelope. My name was typed on it. Not handwritten. Typed. Confidential. My hands started shaking before I even opened it. Inside were 3 documents clipped together. The first page read, Petition for Dissolution of Marriage. My vision blurred. Dissolution of marriage. Divorce. File date. Blank. Prepared by Lawson and Reed Family Law. I flipped the page too fast. Heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. Second document. Petition for sole legal and physical custody. Petitioner, my alpha. Respondent, me. My knees gave out. I sat on the floor, right there in his office, my stomach tight beneath my palms. There was more. Proposed parenting plan. Under Mother's Access, it said, Supervised visitation pending psychological evaluation due to prior emotional instability. Emotional instability. Because I cried after losing our first baby. Because I couldn't get out of bed for weeks. Because grief broke me. He wrote it like evidence. Like I was a risk. My breathing became shallow. Then I saw the line that stopped my heart completely. Proposed filing date, 2 weeks after expected delivery. 2 weeks after I give birth. He wasn't planning to talk to me. He wasn't planning to work things out. He was planning to let me recover from labor and then take my child. I flipped through the rest of the envelope. Private investigator intake form. Bank account transfer confirmations. A lease agreement for an apartment downtown. Signed. Starting next month. He wasn't preparing just in case. He was preparing to leave. With my baby. My hands trembled so violently the papers slipped from my fingers. The baby kicked. Hard. Like he felt my panic. I'm here, I whispered, pressing my palm against my stomach. I'm here. But was I? Because according to these documents, I was already being replaced. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. My heart stopped. The office door opened slowly. He stood there. Perfect suit. Calm expression. Phone still in his hand. His eyes dropped to the scattered papers. Then to me, sitting on the floor, 7 months pregnant, holding the custody petition. There was no shock on his face. No panic. Just calculation. Silence filled the room. Then he said quietly, You weren't supposed to see that yet. Yet, not if, not ever. Yet, something inside me broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet crack that changed everything. I looked up at him and asked the only thing my heart could form. Were you going to take my baby from me? He didn't answer immediately, and that hesitation told me everything. You weren't supposed to see that yet. Yet, that word echoed inside my chest like something metallic and sharp. Not apology, not panic, not guilt, just timing. I pushed myself up slowly from the floor, one hand braced against his desk, the other instinctively holding my stomach. 7 months pregnant, and reading my own removal plan. You filed for sole custody, I said, my voice quieter than I expected. You prepared divorce papers. You hired a private investigator. You leased an apartment. I lifted the document slightly. And you wrote I should have supervised visitation. He didn't deny any of it. Instead, he said calmly, "This isn't what you think. That sentence should be illegal." I stared at him. "Then tell me what I'm supposed to think." He stepped further into the room and closed the door behind him. "This is precaution," he said. "There's that word again," I replied. "Precaution against what?" He exhaled slowly, like explaining something obvious. "Against instability." The baby shifted. Hard. "Instability," I repeated. He met my eyes. "You didn't recover well after the miscarriage. There it is." I felt something cold move through my spine. "I lost our child," I whispered. "You collapsed," he corrected. The word landed like a slap. "You stopped eating," he continued evenly. "You couldn't get out of bed. You needed therapy, medication. You wouldn't speak for days. I was grieving. You were non-functional. Non-functional. Like I was broken equipment." "I was broken," I said. "I lost our baby." "And what happens if that level of collapse happens after birth?" he pressed. That made me freeze. "Not miscarriage. After birth. If you spiral again," he continued, "and there's a newborn dependent on you, what then?" My breathing slowed dangerously. "You think I would hurt my child?" I asked. "I think postpartum depression is real," he said. "And I think you're high risk." High risk. He had turned my grief into a diagnosis. "You collected medical records," I realized quietly. His silence confirmed it. "My therapy notes?" I asked. "Publicly accessible summaries," he said. "Nothing illegal." My chest tightened. "You built a psychological case against me." "I built protection for my child." Our child. But the word sounded like possession now. "You listed me as emotionally unstable," I said, flipping through the papers. "Based on grief. Based on documented depressive episode following pregnancy loss," he corrected, like he was reading from a legal script. "Do you hear yourself?" I asked. "Yes," he replied. "And I'm thinking long-term." Long-term. He wasn't preparing for miscarriage. He was preparing to argue that I might collapse after birth. And therefore, unfit. "You were going to let me deliver this baby?" I said slowly. "Heal, bond, feed him, and then serve me custody papers claiming I was mentally unstable." He didn't answer. That silence confirmed everything. "I wasn't leaving," he said finally. "I was securing leverage." Leverage. I felt the baby kick again, strong and steady. "I am carrying your son," I said. "Every heartbeat, every ache, every sleepless night. And you were preparing to take him from me because I cried over our dead child." "You didn't just cry," he replied. "You shut down." "Yes," I said, "because my body failed." "And what if you perceive failure again?" he asked quietly. There it was, his real fear. Not miscarriage, not death, loss of control. "You think I'm fragile," I said. "I think you're emotional." That word, emotional, as if it were a defect. "And you think you're rational," I said. "I am." He said it without hesitation. That's what made it terrifying. "You were going to reduce me to supervised visitation," I whispered. "It would have been temporary." Temporary. Like exile. "Until what?" I asked. "Until I passed your stability test?" He didn't answer. Because yes, that was exactly it. The baby moved again, and I steadied myself. In that moment, the panic started burning away, replacing itself with something colder, clearer. "You should have locked the drawer better," I said quietly. He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," I replied, gathering the documents carefully, "you just gave me time. For the first time, something shifted in his expression. Concern. "You're not thinking clearly," he said. "No," I answered calmly. "I'm thinking perfectly." He stepped closer. "You're pregnant. You're stressed. Don't escalate this." "Escalate?" "You escalated it when you turned my therapy into evidence," I said. He reached for my wrist. Not violently, but firmly. "You're not leaving this house," he said. And that's when I realized something worse than custody. He didn't plan to leave. He planned to manage me, control the narrative, control the court, control the child. "You prepared to remove me legally?" I said quietly, pulling my wrist free. "You don't get to confine me physically." His jaw tightened. "You're overreacting." "No," I said. "I'm reacting exactly the way a mother should when someone prepares to take her child." He didn't respond, because there was no legal argument for that one. I walked toward the door. He didn't stop me this time, because he still believes he's ahead. He believes money wins. He believes documentation wins. He believes emotional history equals legal weakness. He believes I'll crumble like I did last time. He doesn't understand something critical. Last time I was grieving. This time, I'm fighting. And he just showed me exactly how he plans to win. Which means now, I know how to destroy it. I didn't cry, and that unsettled him more than anything else. The next morning, I made breakfast like usual. Oatmeal, fruit, prenatal vitamins lined up beside my glass of water. He watched me from across the kitchen island, studying me, waiting for collapse, waiting for hysterics, waiting for proof that his documents were justified. He didn't get it. "Are you going to talk about last night?" he asked finally. I looked up. "About what?" His jaw tightened slightly. "The custody paperwork." "Oh," I said calmly. "That." The baby shifted softly beneath my hand. I read it carefully. He seemed surprised by that. "I'm glad," he replied. "Then you understand my concerns." "Concerns?" "You built a psychological narrative," I said evenly. "You documented my grief. You framed it as instability. You prepared to file 2 weeks after delivery." His face remained controlled. "I prepared for risk. You prepared for removal." Silence. He didn't deny it, because he couldn't. "You've been under pressure," he said. "Hormones. Anxiety. I didn't want to add to it." "You added surveillance instead," I replied. "That landed. But not hard enough. Not yet. Besties, watch this carefully, because this is the moment I stopped being his wife and started being his opponent. After he left for work, I did something he never expected. I called a lawyer, not one his mother would recognize, not one tied to his corporate circles. A family law specialist. Discreet. When I explained the situation, the woman on the other end went quiet for several seconds. "He drafted a sole custody petition before birth?" she asked. "Yes." "Based on prior depressive episode?" "Yes." "Did he obtain your medical records legally?" "I don't know." Another pause. "Good," she said. "Good. Because if he accessed private therapeutic documentation without explicit consent, that's a violation." My fingers tightened around the phone. Violation. For the first time since I found the papers, I felt something that wasn't fear. I felt leverage. The lawyer explained calmly. He can draft whatever he wants. He can prepare filings. He can consult investigators. But until something is filed, the strategy, not action. "And if he files?" I asked. "Then we respond." She sounded unbothered, confident. "History of depression does not equal unfit parent," she continued. "Especially documented treatment and recovery." Recovery. I hadn't thought of it that way. He saw collapse. The court would see treatment. That's different. Then she asked something that changed everything. Do you have proof that his mother influenced this? I froze. Because yes, I did. 2 weeks ago, I walked past his office and heard her voice through speakerphone. If he spirals again, you'll lose everything. If that omega breaks after birth, it will destroy your image. You need control before the baby arrives. At the time, I thought she was being dramatic. Now, it was instruction. I had dismissed it, but my memory is sharp, and his arrogance made him careless, because he didn't mute the call. That evening, when he returned home, I was sitting on the couch, laptop open, prenatal journal beside me. He scanned my face immediately, looking for weakness. "You've been quiet," he observed. "I've been thinking," I replied. He loosened his tie. "You're not planning anything irrational, are you?" There it is. Irrational. The word he keeps reserving for me. "No," I said softly. "I'm planning something very rational." That made him pause, but he recovered quickly. "Good," he replied, "because I don't want this to turn ugly." Ugly. It already is. Later that night, I walked past his office again. The drawer was locked now. He learns slowly, but not fast enough, because what he doesn't realize is this. The moment I saw those documents, the power dynamic shifted. He thinks custody is control, but custody battles rely on evidence. And he just gave me motive. The next morning, his mother came over unannounced. She rarely visits without purpose. Her eyes immediately dropped to my stomach. Critical. Assessing. "You look tired," she said. "I'm pregnant," I replied. She smiled thinly. "We're all worried about your emotional endurance." There it is. The narrative. Out loud. "I'm very stable," I said evenly. She tilted her head slightly. "Last time wasn't stable." My hand instinctively moved to my stomach. "That was grief. That was weakness," she corrected gently. That word. Weakness. "You won't need to worry," I said. Her eyes flickered. "What does that mean?" "It means," I replied calmly, "I'm not collapsing again." Something unreadable crossed her face. Not relief, not kindness, concern. For the first time, she realized I wasn't fragile, and that unsettled her. That night, when my alpha came to bed, he studied me in the dark. "You're not fighting me," he said quietly. "Not yet," I replied. He stiffened. "What does that mean?" "It means you think you're 3 steps ahead." Silence. "And?" he asked. "And I'm letting you think that." The baby kicked softly between us. A reminder. He reached out instinctively to touch my stomach. I caught his wrist gently. "Careful," I said. His eyes met mine. There was something different in my gaze now. Not pain. Not hysteria. Calculation. "You forgot something important," I whispered. "What?" "I'm the one carrying the air." And for the first time since this began, he looked uncertain. Not angry. Not dismissive. Uncertain. Because he finally realized something dangerous. If he's planning legally, so am I. And unlike him, I'm not underestimating my opponent. He filed. Not officially. Not yet. But he scheduled the consultation to finalize everything. I know because I saw the email confirmation pop up on his tablet. He forgot to log out. Final review of dissolution and emergency custody motion. 2 weeks before my due date. Not after. Before. So he adjusted the timeline. He wasn't waiting for recovery anymore. He was preparing to strike early. That changed everything. Besties, this is the part where a man thinks he's being strategic and doesn't realize he just revealed his hand. I didn't confront him. I didn't react. I sent the screenshot to my lawyer. Her response came within minutes. "He's accelerating." That means pressure. Pressure from who? I didn't have to guess. His mother. That evening she came again. No warning. No courtesy. She walked straight into the living room like she owned it. I heard you've been tense, she said. I'm pregnant, I replied evenly. She ignored that. You need to understand something, she continued, sitting down uninvited. My son has responsibilities. I'm aware. This family cannot afford emotional unpredictability again. There it is again. Unpredictable. Instability. Fragile. They've rehearsed these words. You're still seeing a therapist, correct? She asked lightly. My spine stiffened. Yes. She smiled faintly. That will be useful. Useful. As evidence. Not healing. Proof. You've been discussing your mood swings? She continued. I stared at her. I've been discussing grief. She leaned forward slightly. The court won't see the difference. Court. She said it so casually. Like she already knew. Like she expected it. Has he told you he moved the filing date? I asked calmly. Her eyes flickered for half a second. So she didn't know that part. Interesting. He's doing what's best for his child, she replied smoothly. No, I said quietly. He's doing what's best for control. Her smile disappeared. You're emotional right now, she said. I'm observant, I corrected. After she left, I did something she never expected. Called her and recorded it. Yes, legally, because in this state, one-party consent is enough. She answered immediately. Yes, I just wanted clarity, I said softly. You truly believe I'm unfit? Pause. You struggled before, because I lost a child. And what happens if you spiral again after birth? She pressed. There's a baby involved this time. So your solution is to remove me? I asked gently. If necessary, she replied. There it is. If necessary. Even if I'm stable? I asked. You're stable now, she said. But postpartum is unpredictable. My son cannot risk his heir. Not baby. And you encouraged him to prepare custody? I asked. Silence. Then, I advised him to think ahead. There it is. Recorded. Clear. Advisement. Narrative building. The next morning, I forwarded the recording to my lawyer. Her reply was immediate. This is coercive influence. I felt my pulse steady. Finally, ground under my feet. That night, he noticed something different. You seem calm, he said. I am. That worries me. Good. It should. Have you spoken to anyone? He asked carefully. Yes. About our child. He studied my face, searching for cracks, for instability, for hysteria. He found none. You're not thinking of doing something reckless? He asked. Reckless. The word he keeps saving for me. No, I replied softly. I'm thinking of doing something correct. That made him uneasy, but he masked it quickly. You don't have the leverage you think you do, he said quietly. But I do. You just don't know it yet. 2 days later, something happened that shifted everything. His lawyer emailed mine. Yes, mine. Because he didn't know I had one. The subject line, Notice of Intent to File Emergency Custody Petition. Emergency. Based on what? Concerns regarding maternal emotional history. He wasn't waiting. He was escalating. He planned to argue. High-risk postpartum episode. History of depressive collapse. Emotional unpredictability. He wanted temporary sole custody immediately after birth. Temporary becomes permanent if unchallenged. He knew that. That night, he came home unusually quiet. He stood in the doorway of the nursery. Half-painted walls. Unfinished crib. He looked at it like victory. You'll thank me one day, he said suddenly. I froze. For what? For making sure he's safe. Safe. From me. You believe I'm a threat? I asked calmly. I believe stress changes you, he replied, and I won't gamble with my child. There it is again. My child, not ours. Ownership language. You're gambling already? I said softly. With what? With underestimating me. He almost smiled. You don't have resources for a legal war. He said it gently, like fact. That's when I stood up slowly. 7 months pregnant. Balanced. Unshaken. You think money wins custody? I asked. It usually helps. Not when motive is exposed. His expression changed. Just slightly. What motive? Control. He laughed lightly. That's not illegal. No, I said. But coercion is. His eyes sharpened. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I walked toward the hallway. I'm documenting everything. That stopped him. For real. You recorded something, he said. Not a question. A realization. I didn't answer, because silence can be louder than proof. And for the first time since this began, he looked uncertain. The baby kicked. Strong. Steady. Alive. And in that moment I understood something clearly. He planned to remove me legally. But he forgot one critical thing. The court doesn't just evaluate stability. It evaluates intent. And he just showed his.